Good morning, everybody. Tara here with a Wifey Wake Up podcast. And getting a little bit of a late start today. I had to get some newsletters out and stuff for my other business. But the sun is still shining through the east window, which I'm very excited about. And it's another glorious day. So today I'm going to talk about the bear or the man debate. And this, I'd like to say, is a reasonable answer from a woman. Now, I avoided doing this for the longest time because I just thought okay, we're adults and we're playing Would You Rather? But as I kept hearing more and more responses, which I hope is not a reflection of the greater understanding out there, but the more and more responses I heard of women saying, I choose the bear. I'm like, we need to talk about this. So hence, a day late and a dollar short, maybe, but I think we need to talk about this a little bit. So first of all, a little bit of background on this. My husband and I taught women's self-defense classes for a long time. And it was, just kind of side income. And also once I, for one, got into it, it's like, wow, this is really needed out there. So we did that for quite a spell. And there were quite a few things I learned, but maybe a little bit more background. We didn't just come out of the blue and say, hey, we're a couple that would like to teach women's self-defense. My husband is a high-level martial artist. I know they all say that, but I'm saying that. Also knowing him for 20 some years, and I'm a woman and I trained with him. And so it just was a nice natural pairing to do the training. So again, it was a great way to put the awareness out there and make a side income at that time. And I learned some important things during that. My husband had done many self-defense trainings, not just for women, but men as well. And so he was already attuned to this, but it opened my eyes to a few things. And it was in proportion to these different steps that we would teach women about self-defense. Defense starts with self-awareness. And I'm going to go through a few of them real quick because this illustrates my later point. So the first thing is you have to have situational awareness. And I think this is even more these days. When we did our training, it was 15 some years ago. And since then, human trafficking has come online, come to people's awareness. I mean, it existed back then, but it's more prevalent now and more people are aware of it. And so we would teach situational awareness. And back then it was mostly like, well, if you're going to do your Christmas shopping at the Mall of America, make sure you know where you're parking, make sure you're in a well-lit area, make sure you can see under and around your car, those sorts of things. And today it would even be more expanded. It really depends on where you are. Today, maybe I'll even give you this clue. For example, I rarely go to Minneapolis, but if I do, it's with my husband. And on the extremely rare occasion, I can't even remember the last time this was, it was probably before the riots broke out, we would look on an app, and there's an app that tells you what kind of crimes had gone on within the last even couple months in the area, and even within the last day. And I've chosen not to go to Minneapolis, after having looked at that app. So the main thing is, I'm getting long-winded here, but these are important tips to know for women in particular, is first of all, know your environment, know where you're going into. So we would teach this in our women's self-defense courses. Next would also be your body posture, what you're wearing, how you exude yourself. Because if you look like a meek or weak person, you're easily a target. If you're wearing eye-catching clothing, that can make you a target. Even if sometimes in some environments, if you're wearing very loose clothing, certain things can make you a target. So being aware of your presence is a huge thing. And again, each one of these is a topic that we would teach in our self-defense. Next, we would typically talk about then if you have to enact self-defense at a distance. And so that would typically be moving to the other side of the street, choosing another location. if you're parking, for example, if you see something suspicious going on. And then we would get into this drill where we would teach women to yell and yell very loudly, yell stop, and primarily just stop, because when you're in a state of alarm, usually only one word can come out. If you're taught only one word, that's the one that will come out. And that was very difficult. It looks like we're having, there we go, internet's back on. That was very difficult for a lot of women and who were not accustomed to, like my generation, taught to speak up for yourself. And that was really insightful for me, because I could see how that was helpful in my generation to be where that was okay, to tell someone to stop. Again, these were points that we would cover in our women's self-defense training. And then they would typically be more ready, kind of revved up for the physical part of it, because we bring out the guy in the big bad suit that they would then have to practice their techniques on. So we would teach some techniques. We'd have a guy advance towards them, and then they could practice those techniques all in order. And it was important, that they build up that confidence as well. And the awareness, usually they would go away with an awareness about themselves. So I give that example because you will see primarily about environment. So man versus bear, we're still on that topic, okay? What I've realized since, especially, and I've had this drill into me, of course, being married to someone who is a martial artist, has been a bodyguard, trained protective services, that your environment, you have to be aware of your environment. And it has just been so evident to me how many women are not aware of their environment in so many ways. And the other thing is they're not aware of their actual physical capability. This is what was very evident and why it was imperative that our self-defense training was not only theory, that they got to practice it, because many of them realized, oh, wow, that kind of hurts to do an eye jab, or, okay, I'll do it like this, or hitting the groin seems pretty easy, but you need a little bit of practice, for example. And I think a lot of women, I've seen and experienced, a lot of women are not aware of their physical presence. I've trained with men in martial arts. I've trained with my husband primarily, who's a big guy. And it just becomes so apparent how much stronger men naturally are and more capable in a lot of ways. Even though I've trained, I still wouldn't want to encounter a guy on the street and see who's a better match at all. That would be absolutely ridiculous. And here's another instance to prove that point even more. So when my stepson was 12, we were training at a martial arts gym. My husband is like, you guys, I'm training you by not training you. And so he sent us to a school that he went to. And I was, I would have been about 20 at the time, and my stepson was 12, and we were the same size. Or he quickly caught up to me during that time, and he's already naturally very athletic.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
He was already naturally very athletic, of course, being raised with my husband, who was a former racer, martial artist, and so forth. He was already very naturally inclined. But what also became apparent is that even not even a teenager yet, a boy who was 12, the same size as me, I quickly could no longer hold Tide pads for him. And Tide pads, there's some that are lighter, there's some that are heavier, but there's these really big pads that you have on like your forearms, and you're holding for kicks and punches, and even the punches, would really stress my arms. And like I said, he was 12. We were the same size, literally, literally. Same height, around the same weight. And I could no longer even hold for kicks, which that's really common, like if you're holding like for a bigger person than you, but his kicks were so strong and snappy that it was difficult to hold. Now I'm emphasizing this because I think women just don't get this unless you've actually been in some kind of sparring, training, or even physical altercation. Okay. Next, let's actually get on to the topic of bears and men. Okay. So bears are animals, and animals have natural instincts, and so do we. We are animalistic. We have the animal brain in us, but we have what is called the prefrontal cortex, which helps us if it's not damaged and if it's mature, because there's a maturing process for humans. If it's not damaged by injury or drugs, for example, we have the ability to reason. But animals don't. Animals act on instincts, and there are many. We could go off on many tangents, but let's just break it down simply to the 3 F's. The instincts are to fight, flee, or fornicate. And there are other instincts that we as humans and animals have, but let's just go with the basics for the sake of this discussion. And when you encounter a bear, first of all, I grew up in the country, not where bears are, but we would go into areas, into the woods and stuff where there would be bears. And it was just basic, like, if you see any inkling of a bear, just stay away. I mean, it wasn't even like what to do in the presence of the bear. It was like, get away, basically. And there's like no friendly bear. Only the teddy bear that you got when you were 5 years old is the friendly bear. Consider no other bear a reasonable encounter. Okay. And again, I'm putting this out there. I thought this was a ridiculous debate, but apparently there are some people that think that, yeah, I'd rather encounter the bear. And they will, if they perceive you as a threat, which if you're in the environment, because the question is, would you rather be in the woods with a man or a bear? So you're in the bear's environment. If it sees you as a threat, you're lucky if the 3 F's that it chooses is the fleeing part. And it's more likely that they're going to be in attack and defense mode, especially if it's a mother bear. There's a reason why there's that statement of being the mama bear, right? A mama bear especially will do without question, will tear you apart. And I just don't understand. I guess the only reason I can give to someone not knowing this is if you grow up in the city and you just are never taught these things. So this is in a sense a public service announcement. Statistically, you're better off being with the man than around the bear. Okay, so the 3 F's, just to be clear, that the bear wants to do is the F you up one. Okay, and that's why I would choose to be around the man. A man at least has those animal instincts and maybe is thinking any one of those of the 3 F's, but he has, assuming that it's mature and not injured, right? There are instances where people's prefrontal cortexes are not mature and they have been damaged by drugs, by an actual injury, and there are just the handful of crazy people out there, percentage-wise. Assuming that's not the case, I'd choose to have the man in the woods with me, because he's at least going to reason. If he's even thinking anything violent, what are the consequences? Okay. My main question is, in this hypothetical argument, again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around, we're adults and we're doing this, would you rather debate. My main question is, if you're in an environment where you're around men that it makes your hair stand on end, you have to question the environment that you're in. Okay, if you're choosing the man over the bear, if you're in an environment, going back to our self-defense training, okay, if you're in an environment where you're around men that make your hair stand on end, that is an instinctive sense of danger. You're sensing danger. And absolutely, if you're around a bear, that is the natural instinct that you would feel. And if you're in an environment where men are making you feel creeped out, hair on end, you know that there's violence in the area. Again, like there are literal apps where you can look up the violence, the prevalence of crime in the area. If you're in those environments, please, by all moral, ethical means, and get out of that environment. That is self-defense and awareness 101. Get out of that environment, because if you know that you're in an environment that is dangerous and you are choosing to be there, you are submitting yourself to live in a constant state of fear, and it breaks down your immune system. It hurts your self-worth, that you are not making all means possible to get out of that environment. And so if this is actually a reasonable argument, I'm considering this, and you would actually consider being with the bear in the woods, first of all, just hopefully this is just bear knowledge 101. They will F you up. And number two, consider the environment that you live, work, or are in. And if you're like, Tara, you don't understand my situation, I just can't get out of it, use that as your motivation to get out. You deserve better than to acquiesce to being in an environment where you feel unsafe. And the reality is that most men out there in the world would more likely protect you than to harm you, or at least be neutral, because these days they are afraid to actually interfere, or concerned to interfere, or even to open a door for the reaction that they might get back from women. So again, I just, if this is really the case, absolutely get yourself into an environment, a greater environment where you feel safer. And I'm assuming that your perception of safety is real. It's not contrived. And that's a topic for another day. And so I'm going to conclude. I keep going over 15 minutes, and this podcast is supposed to be 15 minutes. But I'm going to conclude with this, because this is just where my brain goes. Like I said, I am late on this topic because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. But because my mind goes to, what is the real question here? And for me, the real question is, why are we in this woods? Which woods are we in? So, but all snarkiness aside, all joking aside, if this was something that you really needed, whoever needed this out there, I hope it really helped. This is, no matter what, we're all dealing with reality, real life anyways. And so I try to cut to the chase, get to the real subject here, and be practical. So, okay, there's my answer to the would you rather bear or man debate. So let me know. Yeah, go ahead. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is just a meme out there? Did it maybe raise some concern for you? Like, are there people really thinking this? What's going on in your neck of the woods? How about that? So that's it for today. You all have a wonderful day. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. Guys, I'm especially asking a favor of you. If you find this information, if you think this is good information that all women should know, please, especially like, I love hearing your comments as well, and share with a friend. If someone came to mind, especially, send it to them. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care.